So this is, I believe, will be the last episode in this series talking about abortion, and I hope it's been helpful for people just in helping you to articulate your own thoughts about how you might enter into some of these conversations that you're likely to have, or probably already are having with friends and family about abortion. In the last video, I said that we would talk about the principle of double effect in this video. The principle of double effect is a principle of morality. It's not unique to the Catholic Church, but you'll find this in lots of different moral philosophical traditions. But it just recognizes the fact that when we are out in the real world, and doing things in the real world, sometimes the actions that we do have multiple consequences. And if we can foresee that some of the consequences of our actions are morally good, and some of the consequences of our actions are morally bad or evil, is it permissible for us to go ahead and do that act? And so this principle of double effect gives us some criteria that we can look at to help us make that moral judgment. So one of the things that we would look at is the act itself that we are doing something that's good or at least morally neutral? In other words, you can't do something evil hoping that good will derive from it. So let's say I have the good goal in mind of I need money to feed my family. That's a good thing for me to want, but I can't go rob a bank to get that. Even though I'm hoping to achieve the good of having money to feed my family, I can't perform an evil act to get that. So you can't do something that's directly evil. So the act you're doing itself has to be good or at least morally neutral. The other thing to think about is the moral gravity of both the good and the bad outcomes. So is the good that you're hoping to achieve, is it sufficiently grave or serious to outweigh the evil that you can anticipate? So you can't tolerate a grave evil for the sake of a very small, good. And the other thing to consider, and this is very important, is your intentions. You can tolerate the evil outcome, but you should never desire the evil outcome for its own sake, because that would render the action evil because of the evil of your intentions. So how does this apply to the case of a woman who's pregnant, whose life is in danger, and might be advised, well, you need to get an abortion. You need to terminate the pregnancy to save your life. Well, all right, so you can't do something that's evil in order to achieve a good. So a direct abortion is when you're going in and you are intentionally and directly killing this innocent child. That should never be tolerated. But in the course of providing life-saving treatment to the mother, should the child die, that may be tolerated, because if you look at the comparative gravity of the good that you're hoping to achieve, saving a life, and the evil that you anticipate is going to come from that, the fact that this child will die, those are comparable because you have a life and a life, and both lives are of infinite value. And then the last criteria is the intentionality, right? Does the doctor that's performing the procedure, does the woman herself, do they desire the death of the child? Or is this something that they are, tolerating or even reluctantly, permitting because of the good of saving the mother's life? And if that's the case, then the Catholic Church would have no problem with the mother receiving life-saving treatment. So I'll give an example of what I mean by this. We'll talk about the case of an ectopic pregnancy because this gets brought up a lot in these examples. An ectopic pregnancy is when an embryo does not implant in the womb as it should, but it implants in the fallopian tube of the mother. And if it's allowed to grow and develop there, it can kill the mother. And of course, the child does not survive, either. So women in these situations need treatment to save their life. So if the intention of the doctor, the intention of the woman, the intention of everybody involved is not to kill that child, but to save the life of the mother, then there are moral means of doing so that don't involve the direct killing of a child. And what the Catholic Church actually advocates in this instance, it would be to remove the section of the fallopian tube where the child has implanted, and then repair the mother so that you're saving the mother's life, treating her, and then allow that child to die. You don't want to do anything that's going to directly bring about the death of that child, but it's permissible to allow that child to die naturally. And in fact, this is what we do in any other case where we're dealing with like a terminally ill patient, for example. You can know, okay, this person's dying of cancer and there's no way we can save them. That doesn't justify smothering them with a pillow. No, you keep them comfortable and respect their dignity while they go through that death process. And we respect the fact that we don't create life and it's not our job to take it away. So that child in the womb, that young child, deserves the same respect. Allow the child to die naturally, and then treat that child's remains the way that you would treat the remains of any other human being, with care and dignity. That child is not biological waste. It's not garbage. Don't discard that child. Mourn that child, right? That child has a life, albeit a young, short life, but it's a real person who deserves to be grieved and mourned and honored just as much as anyone else. So there are moral means to address these difficult situations, and principles, moral principles like the principle of double effect, can help us to navigate through some of these trickier instances. I hope this series has been helpful for people who have watched it. I hope it's helped you to formulate your own thinking about abortion, and helped you to have conversations with people about abortion. For my students at Western Carolina University, know that you can always come and talk to me if you have issues, if you're concerned about anything, whether that's you need a greater explanation of what the Catholic Church teaches, or if there's a personal issue in your own life. We're absolutely here for you. So for those of you who have been with us for this entire series that we've done, thank you for sticking with us, and God bless.